It was an abominable event a long time ago that made me feel that this is what the culmination of youth is like, but now I am disposing of it in my own way as a prank from a long time ago. I'm still curious about my friend I, but I'm sure I'll see him someday, somewhere. This blackmail's story is from a foreign gossip news that I usually see, and it is a case from an unsolved case that happened in the United States. I often watch sports and events overseas through websites, but I thought this suspicious case was a very rare and dark case. This is an incident that took place in the eastern part of the United States, and it became a human drama that depicted the struggle of a freelance female journalist and a veteran sheriff who is active in the field. The details of the brutal incident that occurred there and the battle between the two men to elaborate on the incident were very impressive because they seemed to depict a real struggle to challenge the depths of human spirituality. I would like to introduce this in the form of my own interpretation of the story. Veteran detective Grover Morrison, who served as the sheriff of the local state police in the eastern United States for 13 years and even held the position of deputy county sheriff, was reluctant to be released from his long-time police duties. 2 weeks from today, on Friday, I was supposed to retire from the police profession to which I had devoted my entire life. The reason why I use the expression that I was supposed to do is because of the satisfaction I have felt in my work that I had served for more than a quarter of a century, and my longing for the many unsolved cases that I had to give up halfway through. Among them, the serial massacre of girls that occurred exactly 20 years ago remained in my memory as a large chunk stuck deep in my heart. The incident began in an unexpected way on a summer day 20 years ago. Royson, it seemed that the suspicious object was found in the apartment complex of Midtown. So can you tell me to support you? Suspicious object. If that's the case, please tell Mitch he's just locked up in the evidence room. Don't buy cheap things. Next month's promotion exam will be full of great people. Squads, not at all. At the time, Robert Morrison, A. Aka Morrison, who was serving as an assistant sheriff at the Paiwan Police Department in the southwestern part of the state, had a bad feeling about the pages that didn't know, normally ring. On weekdays, the buzzer rarely sounded in the middle of the day, but statistically, there were overwhelming many cases that led to violent crimes. This was something that Robert Morrison, who was approaching the level of veterans, had gained from the experience he had accumulated up to that point. Recently, I took out the headache medicine that I carry with me as a regular medicine from the drawer and headed to the site. The job of being a police officer was a grueling job that involved a series of stress and self-discipline. When I arrived at the scene, I saw a local police officer in uniform and 4 or 5 people who appeared to the plainclothes officers in the process of circulating black and yellow cordon tape around the area. Morrison parked his car on the left shoulder, a few yards from the scene, and headed to the site to check the detail of the scene. Oh, Kendo, what about Kami? It's your turn to do the side job at the burger house. Say stupid. With this, I'm the fifth. I'm going to be stopped like in some other country. If you the one who gets promoted, give me a little time. Because it's such an America, there are people who become dealers. The treatment of the civil servants is the foundation of democracy. I can tell you, Kendo Gara, who is 2 years younger than him, had a unique career in the past, having changed his profession from a discount store clerk to a police officer. Last few days, his beloved wife of 10 years gave birth to triple girls, a happy event, but he is in a dilemma that he is struggling to feed because he has a total of 5 children. The dissatisfaction with the stable but low monthly salary was shared by my colleagues. You was one who going to say something stupid about police reform. Aren't you going to be passed around somewhere? There's no place where you can feel safe. What that? It is public security, gathering evidence, interviewing people, leading to prosecution. That's all. This was true not only for the police, but for any organization. But communication and information gathering and sharing within the department were more important than anything else. The issue of arresting criminals should have been valued as a tool that was more important than horizontal cooperation rather than vertical connection. They walked through the cordon with heavy steps, and when they entered, they found several staff members of the forensics and chemistry team waiting for them in the house, taking off their laminate gloves. The object in question seems to be in the poultry yard at the back of the room, and the site is slightly different from the original creation. The two of them wore plastic shoes to prevent footprint at the entrance, but they took them off and stepped into the courtyard. The size of the garden was less than 10 hectares, and I imagined that it would be as close as possible for family barbecue. On the left, there were remnants of potted plants and gardening, but the object in the example seemed to be on the right, where some brown soil was exposed. If you look into the place was where the bright brown, colored, steaming red clay is being dug up, you can see a human-like head wrapped in a blue garbage bag designated by the city. Hey, is this it? Oh my gosh. He looks quite young. Maybe a teenager? The rest of the hair looks new. Is it likely to be Bill? What do you think? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it's just the neck. When I took out the contents while removing the soil around it with several staff members at the site, I found a head that seemed to be a girl in her early teens. The head was in a very fresh state, and it was not yet 2 days old. According to the forensic examination, Lorison and Kendall returned to the police station and immediately approached the director about setting up an investigation headquarters. Considering the condition and severity of the bodies, it was judged that it was necessary to take action as soon as possible. Forensic examination of the body was conducted, and the specimen was well preserved, as if it had been made into a specimen, as if to confirm the aforementioned cause of the body. However, even the entire skull has changed into a softened tissue, so it has become an individual that requires sufficient care in handling. A definitive diagnosis could not be made due to the complete loss of body tissue from the neck down, except for the head, but it is possible that a significant amount of water was detected in the skin tissue and intracranium, and that it was immersed in water for several hours, or even until just before discovery. The two hot-blooded detectives who were experiencing discomfort and horror as the back of their heads and hair tightened received the result of this cold and gruesome autopsy in the morgue known as the morgue and the third basement floor of the old and rusty Pale police station. The autopsy was led by a doctor named Miguel Madison, who had been transferred from Pittsburgh on behalf of the state police. Madison, who was then a professor of anatomy at Pittsburgh State Hospital, was appointed to work at the morgue on a part-time basis after serving a total of 30 years. The neck is so sharp and vivid that it is possible to know why it can be cut so sharply, and the aftermath is a residue containing lime and small amount of magnesium, and the red on the teeth is also a peculiar condition. Red on The teeth is red of lipstick. We begin by facing a given object without any preconceived notions because we often miss important pieces by inferring in advance. What else did you find? The age is 12 to 14 years old, and even if you calculate backward from the time of discovery, it is probably around 72 hours due to the possibility that rigor mortis is delayed due to moisture. The person is identified from the victim's DNA. After that, it will take about 3 days. But in any case, it is better to prioritize the search for the 5 bodies from the neck down. I know that. Rorison's agitation was filled with intense anger and hearted at the unreasonable treatment of the corpse, as has always been the case, no matter what the deep psychology of the murder or prevent is. I feel my heart torn apart every time I am confronted with miserable remains of the victim subject. Only at this moment I didn't feel like I was getting used to it. Madison's analysis becomes deeper and more complex as if so deepen the confusion. The corpse is where I get the impression that it is treated with cruelty trapped inside, although it is difficult to express. Trapping cruelty inside. It's a strange expression, but it seems to have an artistic sense, and I feel like it's like a set of rules. Don't be silly, teacher. There are no aesthetics of rules for all murder. I'm not commenting on the crime itself. I'm just expressing my impression of it when I confronted the body head on. It's not contest, and social justice can be established if sense is questioned. Lorison felt a human distance from the doctor, who was disgusting for his age and had a clear attitude that was beginning to look good on his gray hair. I wondered if staying in such a place for so long would make it possible for the case itself to be handled with blood. The two of them went back to the car and started chatting. What do you think? I hate to admit it, but I feel like what that teacher is saying has a point. But she's girl who may or may not have graduated from elementary school, right? You can forgive me for any reason. It's cold, and I sometimes think about it, but I don't know what. What is coldness? No, for example, in the bond of the parent-child relationship. Oh, you, do you say it infanticide? Who and what are you talking about? No, I don't know anything yet. So I'm just trying to say it. For the two detectives who have built up their careers, violent crimes are becoming a daily occurrence, but this kind of murder feels like a bottomless sum that cannot be saved. I feel that the future of children is the future of the country, and by extension, the future of all human beings. I felt that being a child was symbol of being irreplaceable with all kind of possibilities. I don't think any crime should be tolerated, but the only thing that should be avoided is the murder of an innocent child at all costs. The heavy air of the two people who got out of the morgue and returned to the car is at the mercy of the shocking development that awaits them. 3 days later, they went to work early in the morning. I found Kendall coming out earlier than me and rummaging through the shelves of the police station. Candy, it's early, isn't it? Without beer, I haven't been able to sleep for the past few days. I am a single parent, but my mother lives downtown. So I'm going to ask about it in Brown River, right? I'm looking for an expense book and a pen right before I leave. I'll be out right away. The junior hot-blooded worker was ahead of the curve and made the necessary arrangements to investigate the case. It seemed that he planned to interview his mother and neighbors. A reliable partner may refer to such a person. They set off for downtown, where their mother lives. The effect of a squall that fell on the area during the night had involved the entire town, but rapid humidity ventilation has occurred thanks to a dry heat wave in the morning when daytime temperature exceeded 30 degrees Celsius. The dry climate peculiar to the United States had the power to blow away the slightest cumulonimbus clouds. The rate of the decay of the low head in the house was slowed down by the humidity and temperature in the ground and the cold air brought by the outside air. The monsoon that blows in the eastern United States creates temperature difference unique to this area, and it shows completely different side from night to day. Still, the girl suffering is not so much a symbol of her becoming a lump of flesh, but rather a remorse for being called to heaven without purifying her soul, and it seems to dwell in her silent, clear eyes. The determination of the two men not to allow such unreasonable behavior to happen again erupted into much hotter heat than the usual investigation. Hey, this is the girl's parents' house. It's quite big. The girl's identity was revealed. Her name was Christy McNichol, and she was a beautiful girl who had just turned 20 years old and was an avid cheering student at the local junior high school. It is rumored that she is a beautiful girl and has enough beauty to win grand prize in a teen-only contest sponsored by this region. I didn't know if it was true or not, but I could imagine that it was a very conscientious system, even though it was a child. Certainly, the transparent girl buried in the soil does not have strange habit. I mean, I didn't have the airy smell that I see in the countryside. When the two arrived at the entrance, a woman wearing a neat light blue Doris greeted them with a nervous smile. It's Mr. Royson and Mr. Kendall. I'm listening to the story. Please come inside. What did my child do? There is no way that they should have behaved badly to be involved in such an incident. I heard that you are regular at Miss Con. Is it true? I don't know how the world sees me, but I was the type of person who pushed forward with a purpose in everything I did. So I did my best in chair and contest. How long was the range of action? Come on, school and friends are normal, and when they went on a outing, I was always by their side. It is said that there is no such thing as acting alone. I don't know what you want to say, but no, no. There are many unexpected temptations and evil that when you go outside. So I think it's not uncommon to be involved in unexpected incidents. I understand what you are trying to say, but I am particular the detective who is there is looking at you to accuse you of being an unscrupulous parent who cannot supervise your daughter. So please don't judge people by prediction or speculation. Haha, of course, above all, the daughter of the house has worked hard to become a neat and modest, ideal woman. Lawson investigative methods stem from the belief that the accumulation of familiar facts in any case leads to the truth. I never doubted the equation that invisible truth can only be revealed by accumulating visible evidence. I have a bunch that the alarms detected by the victim's mother will not lead to direct involvement with the perpetrator. The core of the murder began with the task of exposing the part of the motive that the killer would absolutely want to hide. I feel uncomfortable that I don't smell anything. What do you think? The line between parents and children, if not perfect, seems to be low, and it may be said that it is a tendency Barrios family can have to feel the nuance of part of the affection running out of control. Barrios is not my favorite word, but crime involves murder and money, but I can't allow the collateral of being wealthy to be tied to this. Due to the unparalleled brutality of the incident, in which only the girl's head was preserved, an uproar was beginning to occur that engulfed the entire state, including the neighborhood. From the early morning news, articles and reports dealing with this case were broadcast with heat, and since then it has been in a state of panic almost every day, including gossip articles about who the culprit was and why he was killed. The people interested seem to be fully aware of the law that the misfortunes of others are sweeter than honey. That, Mr. Detective, isn't it a model of detective? You were not at all. You've already sniffed it out, but it's just getting started. So it's not your turn. After greeting and interviewing the lady, Katie McNichol, a newcomer female reporter approaching them from behind them, wearing camouflage pants that resembled a military uniform. There was sense of innocence fresh out of courage that didn't let go of it. But it was undeniable that it was a mismatch to be in charge of a serious case. There are times when I raise the atmosphere as a criterion for evaluating people, but the first impression is not bad. However, the fact that he seemed to be the type of person who ran way away with his motivation much ahead of his consciousness was encouraging Rorison's sense of caution. You, it's a local newspaper, right? I guess you have permission. Give me your business card. This is Jesus quote from East Magazine. I was born in Brooklyn. What's the matter? It's not for downtown lady. How many of you are you? It's against the rules to say age to a lady. Alright, I've been in town for a long time, so I think I understand the conventions. The two men who thought they had taken a nasty shrew subtly dodged the gaze of the young maiden who was looking at them with their eyes full of curiosity and curiosity. There were adult circumstances that prevented the strict precepts of investigation violent crimes from being disturbed. There is a sense of fear that being misled by the moderation brought by such a woman will not lead to the resolution of the case. Let's go with give and take. That prophet is this prophet. There is a suspicion of a connection to the kidnapping of a young girl in Ohio, and it is not connected at this time because Governor Moose has stated that it has nothing to do with this. But considering the similarity of the killings, it is not surprising that it is considered as serial murder in the wide area. Yeah, what that was going on in Ohio. In Ohio, Creek River, a young girl had also been killed, and all the details are limited. It's limited, but what? The girl was an 8-year-old child, and it was not just her neck, but 5 bodies buried in pieces, each wrapped in blue leather vinyl and stacked vertically 2 meters from the ground. Phew, it's insane. So how do you connect to this? For now, except for the common denominator of the blue freezer beneath Hughes and the beautiful girl. Don't be stupid. It's not mystery study group at Kochi Torres University. Don't mix up incidents when you don't have any basis for it not at all. Kendall's frustration was understandable, but it seemed that the complexity and seriousness of the case was slowly coming to light. The unknown girl may have been killed by the same person. Kendall and Royston are beginning to think that they have to consider dating a female reporter who seems to have a surprisingly sharp nose. So what the Phantom Thief reporter is envisioning is the same perverted bastard is attacking only you young girls who are young and sticky. The FBI his view is already like that. Oi, oi, oi. No one is listening to the FBI. Don't make a big deal out of things. The FBI spokesman for the Eastern Spindle is already considering a wide area deployment, and some of them have shifted to the federal investigation system. As with anything, if you come out, you will lose your eggs and your children, and I wonder what the director thinks. Therefore, it's necessary to share the information that you have learned as quickly as possible. So we ask for your cooperation. Garrison felt a little uncomfortable that the case was spreading faster than usual. The murder of a young girl in a rural town that is usually cold and had few violent incidents seems to be encroaching on a country with an irregular spread like a bat virus. Clearly, something going on in the East. It was clear to everyone that this was not an act that should be de- derided. 3 days have passed since the official investigation headquarters was launched. A surprising follow-up news that shook the hearts of Morrison and Kendall to the core. After the death of the first victim, Christy McNichol, was discovered three bodies were found in quick succession in the woods upstream of the Brown River. Each body had been abandoned in an unspeakably cruel manner and was buried in a barbaric act that trampled on the dignity of the corpse. Garrison and Kendall endured with regret the current situation where the progress of the investigation and the gossip diverged as the case was reported on a daily basis. With a strong suspicion of a connection to the event in Ohio, the current situation in which as many as 5 girls have been killed in a row is completely insane. This situation should have been corrected as soon as possible. However, nothing comes out of it. I continue to listen to them from the line of my immediate family, but I can hardly find any suspicious or per- perverted people who are likely to be mischievous. Mischievous. No, if you go back a little and watch the rest, there are no cases of harassment targeting young girls, even in this place where the wind of the world blows. However, most of them are resolved within a few days or weeks, and I don't think there is any sign that they are likely to be connected to this case. Moreover, it was certain that this murder would be counted as the most heinous murder in the history of the town. It must be said that the extremely cruel crime of abandoning only the head of a child in the courtyard of a house is a rare case even if you look at the whole country. As a result, even the federal police were stunned, frightened by the fear of the shadow of fatigue creeping in. The two bodies expand the range of their listening. The bodies of the three men were found near the community forest in the upper west of the Brown River, but the Lost Highway, 1 kilometer to the east, is frequented by hikers crossing the east and west. It was not surprising that the large highway that runs parallel to the river across this local road, Route 35, was inhabited by drifters and junkies from the east. Along the busy National Highway, where high-speed cars and trucks usually come and go for more than 80 miles, there are fast food restaurants, gas stations, and even ruined motels and shady shops. It was a neighborhood where the remnants of the good old days of America were etched in sepia-toned memories. The local culture is flexible enough to embrace innovative ideas while respecting old traditions. It seems that such an old-fashioned and formal-minded family has come to from a conscious family like the McNichol family. Whether or not the retro sense of the era, which seems to have been left behind from the present day, connected the sympathy with the thugs and led to the motive for taking the girl's life. The motive, the motive. Everything will be known if the motive is known. Lorison decided to sink deep into his thoughts and become the eyes and nose of the culprit, and so synchronized with them. This was because the strongly believed that only by doing so would be would he be able to catch the culprit of this incident. Listening on the highway added to the confusion of thoughts. The unseen pressure that the federal police are moving is creating impatience for both detectives. As he continues his investigation, he is tempted to investigate human trafficking and heroin related matters, but he cannot get involved in other cases until he sees the murder of young girl come to an end. There was a lot of public attention to this case, but above all, the people's feelings about the unparalleled way of being killed in a bizarre crime were tremendous. The will of the people to never forgive them can be inferred from the number of letters sent to the police station and the information on suspicious persons received. Ironically, since this incident, things seem to be getting busier in the department. Detective Morrison, Detective Morrison, it's Jesse. In the middle of a meeting in the smoking area outside the station, Jesse contacted me in a hurry. The calm of his voice conveys an intense stress as he speaks while trying to stifle his composure. Also, something happened. This time it's a 35 years old woman. This time, too, it's been done a lot worse. Can you come to the site? I'll be there soon. They rushed to a place about 5 kilometers north of the general store where the two had been listening and arrived at a strip bar with a sign that said Pin Road. The scenery of the site looks like a snack at the end of an old place, and it doesn't look like a street bar. As at entrance to the parking lot, a fellow police officer was waiting with flashing red lights, but it seemed that forensics had not yet arrived to examine the scene. When I entered through the front door, I went down the narrow stairs leading to the basement, but the loud rock music sounded so deafening that my head almost cracked. As soon as I went downstairs, I opened a heavy iron door that seemed to weigh tens of kilograms, and Jessie was next to a woman who was lying naked on her back, facing me. Where are you investigating? The victim is an adult woman. I don't think. I'm the culprit. I'm not the culprit. It has been found from her belongings that she is a prostitute at the same time as a dancer. If she is killed without sobriety, will it be an indiscriminate murder? Don't you say something that you know from ID? My name is Mackenzie Green, and I'm from Minnesota. What about bodily fluids? When I asked the officer Tommy, who was the first person to find it, he found that his underwear had been taken off and hung below his knees, so he probably had been raped. So we will have to wait for the forensic judgment for details. So where is the neck? Over here, over there. A body so young and headless that it does not look like it is 35 years old. Woman makeup plays a role in the blurring age, but even so, it seems to be a characteristic of the entire body that made her look more than a year younger. The woman's headless torso was lying on a stage on a floor of about 10 tatami mats lined with delicate retro desks and chairs. But the severed head was then placed in front of the dressing table in the waiting room in the back room. Green bed, green beads are embedded in the eyeball, and the rudely shaped totem pole is thrust into the mouth. It was a completely insane crime, but I couldn't say that I understood it 100%. The killer tries to make up for what he did, but he doesn't know what to judge from this situation. In the end, understanding the meaning was supposed to be the decisive factor in solving the case, but I feel that the way she was raped is different from the murder of a young girl that I am currently pursuing. However, it is not clear whether the crime was committed by the same crime in the first place. Christy McNichol and the other three girls were all teenagers, but this woman is 35 years old. Female reporter. That one got ahead of the curve and the investigation was going to be a mess. How can it be associated with a serial murder? There have been many cases where toads have been killed. Crimson is here it is. Crimson is painted, and the consciousness of the symbolic is the result of intensive evidence gathering. Morrison Kendall looked at the bright vermilion red smeared under the lips that the female reporter was pointing. A female reporter wearing transparent laminated gloves is picking up the victim's upper lips with tweezers like thin chopsticks. Inside the room, only dim lighting was shining from one angle diagonally to the left and right, but the vivid crimson luster could be seen from the poor visibility. Why again? This time, is it an adult woman? If it's a woman, is it random? It's too much for a bad prank. Maybe it's a junkie. It seems that the line of drug dealers is thin. I don't know yet. But it seems that they are watching from the FBI sales network. But it seems that it will not be a hit. I'm not a dealer. I'm not even on the list. What that? Is it extraterrestrial? It seems that this spot remains vividly for 24 hours. When the breathing stops from the biological reaction on the back of the eyelids. But what do you think? Soon forensic will come. But in any case, I don't think much time has passed. I just got killed. Doris and Kendall went outside to continue listening. When you go out of the store, it is raining so fine that you can't see it with the naked eye, and the outside air is moist. I was full of premonition that it would be a nasty development. Detective Rover and Kendall Wright, nice to meet you. I'm Jason Gott. I'm Jason Gott. The investigation is moving to an emergency system. So maybe something will come out soon. Would you two like to take a break? You guide to it without restaurant, so it may have the opposite effect. But how many are many? The way he wipes his ass is top notch. So the dignity of the nation must be maintained. Feeling like they were suffocating in the basement, the two local detectives were confronted by two investigators who appeared at the scene in an overwaxed black Lexus from the side of the highway while they were scrambling in the rain in a little disused smoking area next to the top of the stairs. The Reptilian man who looks like second suspect wears the gray suit with the black and red stripe pattern that doesn't match the scene. But one wrong step makes him look like a rock star. He is nearly 2 meters tall, but his gaze peeking through the agate colored sunglasses he wears showed the silk skillfulness of his political power, which has made the most of his connections. They were clearly younger than they were, but there was a sheen of arrogance in their position. As of 9 p.m. today, the command will be transferred to us, and you will follow our instructions. We are going to do our own investigation. It doesn't matter to other people. We will conduct a special sting operation, so we would like you to cooperate. Undercover operation was kind of two women will cooperate. Hey, hey, don't cross the dangerous bridge. What about the official there? Of course, we will do our utmost to ensure safety and humanitarian considerations. One is an adult woman who is a prostitute, and the other is moderate after a girl in her early teens. This is why the national police must be trusted. The media can't shut up about such a thing. The two investigations responded to our concern without raising an eyebrow. It was an attitude that said that everything was expected, leaving the confident investigator behind. Larissa and Kendall resumed their interrogation along the highway. The main way of solving cases was to learn that steady fit and experience make a difference. However, after that incident, nothing happened for 2 months. Just as the investigation was about to catch its breath, the people involved were shocked by an unexpected development. The girl and the adult woman who were sent to the undercover investigation were both found dead. The corpse was once again brutally abandoned. The culprit perfectly captured this intention and set up a counter. The fact that 7 people had lost their lives in just a few months was unacceptable. The murderer spent his time wandering between his daily life and his assault, never carefully, so as not be grabbed by the tail cautiously. I never dreamed that this case would end like this. His partner, Kendall, became the owner of a burger joint that used to be a side job, and now he has nothing to do with the police. I am only a few days away from retirement, and I am approaching the final stage of thinking about the end of my career as a worker. It had been exactly 20 years since the incident broke out with only Christy McNichol's head, but the murderer who was determined to be the culprit was a slightly special person who exceeded our imagination. The news, released by a spokesman for the local Pyram police station, shook residents in the east. The suspect was a 57-year-old man named Gene Stewart, who was a bus driver for a public kindergarten in the middle of town. Gene Stewart has a cognition anomaly of the endocrine system and is only 4 feet tall. This short stature resulted in the effect of becoming a cover for all kinds of crimes. At first, it was Stewart's well prepared ploy that no DNA test or fingerprint were detected at the scene. But what was incomprehensible was that he was not registered as a criminal on the FBI list. Stewart had mild cognitive impairment. When I was in high school, I had a criminal record for assaulting my boss for exploiting my part-time job at a restaurant by my boss manager. But such a thing is a minor offense that may or may not be included in the criminal record. and it will not be recorded. His abnormality as a criminal amplifies as he grows older. The abuse of his parents, as well as his extraordinary hatred for other people due to the sexual mischief of his stepmother, who became his foster mother, weighed on Stuart's character development. They crushed humans, especially innocent children and women, with the goal of taking revenge on society. The question is, how did he get caught? Of course, the strength of the DNA test has improved dramatically since 20 years ago, and the suspect was finally arrested, but it was dry ice that prompted Stuart to accompany him. On one occasion, the store manager, who was suspicious of an adult man buying a large amount of dry ice at a farmer's market, contacted the local security police. The only places that buy ice cream in units of tens of kilograms are some university, universities and fish banks. So when I asked about the situation, I couldn't get a clear statement. Immediately, two investigators obtained a warrant and carried out a voluntary search, and to their surprise, an identified dismembered human body was found in a commercial refrigerator. It seemed to me that he was the victim of all the blood that Stuart had given to him. Sure enough, the belongings and body parts of all seven people involved were found, but it didn't end there. When the police and forensics stepped in and searched premises of his home, they found human evidence for a total of 23 people. An unprecedented female serial killer had plunged the entire United States into the depths of terror with dozens of unofficially undiscovered victims. That man, James Stewart, sometimes pretended to be disabled, and when he turned into darkness, he approached women with childlike innocence. He turned his hatred of women into his own desire for revenge by obsessing over the parts that gave birth to them. Horizon, imagine the cunning gaze of James Stewart as he brooded for his prey in broad daylight. It was a rude challenge, as if mocking the goodness of human beings. It may be as difficult to prevent as a crime that penetrates into the gapes of human beings. In the future, the trial was scheduled to be held in order from the victims whose IDs were known, but this case will never truly end. The day when he sits in the electric chair may not be far off, but it will take some time. If you get a free bargain for extenuating circumstances, you may try to live and enjoy prison life to the fullest. Thus, one of the unsolved cases has come to an end, but there are still strange and incomprehensible horrors and mysteries in the world. I will continue to introduce more and more terrible stories in the future. End.